all that are attending our podcast this morning. And our podcast this morning is going to talk on why you should teach your children to trade. It's going to be a great one. We appreciate you being here. It's 10 a.m. Central Time. And we have Deshaun and Randy will be here. I don't think Tim's going to be here today. And of course, we got our MC over there, Micah, and I'm Joe Hooper. And so we're gonna have a good day today, good conversation. We've been having these podcasts, Micah, 3 months, 2 months, 4 months.
Yeah, we changed our structure into this about a couple weeks ago, and started doing those new topics. He started writing us editorials, and I mean, I've really enjoyed our process so far. Yeah.
And I was coming in on top of that because Mike's supposed to be saying all this stuff, and
you're all good.
For so long, I just naturally take over doing it, But
yeah, well,
Mike, why don't you go ahead and introduce us? We'll go from there.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was perfect. That's exactly right. We're talking about why you should teach your children to trade, yeah, hopefully we'll get Tim in here and Randy. Oh no, Tim's not going to be here today.
Tim's not going to be here, no, Randy.
Okay. Perfect. So if you attended in past weeks, you guys know Tim. He will not be here today, but Randy is on his way. So, yeah, no, that's the main thing we're going to cover today, and I wanted to kind of dig into what it actually starts to look like. I know it's going to be an interesting thing for me. I'm going to let you guys do most of the talking because I think I have a very biased opinion. So to start today, I'm going to tell you how Joe and I met. I was trading with my
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I was going to if you didn't.
I thought you were going to. I know we're jumping right into it. Welcome, everybody. First of all, just so you know, before I get started, we do have two comment boxes, one on Facebook and one on YouTube. Feel free to type anything in there. We'll see it, and Marcus can throw it up for us, and we'll be able to answer those questions live. We love the interaction. We love anything we can answer for you. But yeah, I'll start there. So I met Joe when I was 15. My brother was planning on going on a trading cruise with his best friend, Bob. I don't know if I've ever told you the full story, Joe. This will be fun.
No.
The only reason I ended up there is because Bob almost died. He got so sick, he was in the hospital for like a week and a half. And so it was the week and a half where we had to go on this cruise, and it was already paid for. And we were past the cancellation window. He got sick right before. So my brother was like, "Hey, you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do it." The first day we get there, we start to walk into the ship, and they just hand us some memos on our way, and we're trying to figure our way around. It's weird thinking of pre-COVID and everybody just being able to walk past each other. That's a thought I haven't thought of in a while. And we walk past this glass door, and we look in, and we kind of stop, and we're like, is that them? Is that Joe and Cezanne? And so we look at the door, and it said members only. And it was this club that you could only go in if you had been on a certain amount of cruises. What was that club, Joe?
I don't know the name of the club now. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah. So we looked at the door, we read the door, and we were like, we're not supposed to be in there. And he's like, definitely not. He's like, you want to go in? And I was like, absolutely. So we opened the door and we walked in, and we shook your hand. We just met you.
Yeah. So he was our first young person.
Yep. So I was 17 by that time. But the topic we're going to be talking about today is why to teach your children to trade, and I think it'll blend into why to teach them about the markets. So first, I want to get each of your opinions on what do you guys think of the current education, the current financial education in we can start with high school even. Do you think kids are taught enough about money? How were you guys even personally taught about money in high school? Joe, if you want to go first.
Okay, I think that not hardly anything is done about teaching young kids. When I say this, let's talk about people 15, 16. I mean, you can say, well, somebody would say, how old is too young or not young enough? I'd say by the time they start getting close to driving, they're already responsible, so they're going to have the ability to be responsible for something, maybe money. And also, you're going to get interest in trading because they can make money to take care of their teenage life, going to school and everything else. But I don't think, to answer your question specifically, anybody gives them any foreknowledge of investing or anything when they're that young.
Yeah. What do you think, Deshaun, or how was it when you were growing up? Even
Nothing.
Nothing.
We got actually. I think anything I learned about money was from my parents, not school.
Yeah.
I remember learning how to write a check. That was from my parents, but yeah, it was all parents though.
Yeah, same for me. I don't think I learned checks or I didn't learn about credit. I remember I had no idea what credit was coming out of high school. That was a foreign concept. Yeah, and that's what I think is so apparent is the lack of teaching. I've heard of some schools getting into more programs about basic financial education, but yeah, the current state is. So then the next question, yeah, why do you think that is, Joe?
I think the reason they don't is because it's just like mutual funds. You take mutual funds. They have, I want to invest money. What can you do for me over 35 years? Well, we're going to pay you 6% a year. Most of them can't. They're going to pay 6% a year, and in 35 years, if you put in $300, $400, $500 a month, in 40 years, 45 years, you're going to have $450,000, something like that. It's just something silly, and some kid says, good Lord, I got to start saving. I've got to go to college. I got that expense. I got to start saving. And I'm going to put this money out for 40 years. Are you kidding me? I'm going to live 40 years? Look at all the terrible things that could happen. So they pose the thing to their kids, where it's an impossibility. There's no really fun or interest involved in it. If you say, like our techniques, hey, you should do this a couple of years, you got, $800,000, just starting off $2,000, never put another penny in. But I think that's part of the reason why there isn't a lot of interest among children or among those teens, and I probably not a lot of interest in the parents talking to them back, because most of the parents, remember, not too many people deal in the market. There's only less than 25-30% of the people in the whole country that deal in the market or that invest on any kind of regular basis. So that doesn't start off with very good odds, parent-wise, to talk about it. So. Yeah.
Do you think that is on its way up? Well, I mean, certainly now, because I think this year, I'm really curious to see what happens.
Yes, it is definitely heading up, and the Robinhood thing's a good example. Not Robinhood, the Robinhood thing was a good example. All of a sudden, all these young people had this interest because they thought they were going to make a big killing. Well, at least you got to start somewhere. Well, that's good, They got them interested and got them doing stuff. So I think the interest is definitely going up, primarily because of that experience with all those millions of teenagers, in essence, getting involved in the market, and they never have been that way before, And so.
Yeah. I also would have been curious to see how this whole situation would have gone down if, we had been taught a basic thing or two about money in school. I think our generation would have handled this situation a lot differently if it wasn't this elusive world.
I think the most sophisticated thing most parents think to teach a kid, okay, when that's going to open a savings account, and they're going to pay you 2% a year, and I want you every week when you get your check from some job, go there and put some money in that savings account, and that's about the extent of it, because that's about all the parents know. That's about it. So,
I mean, yeah, and that's the other thing I'm thinking is how much of it truly is educating children and how much of it is them learning the system that is in place, because the adults didn't know how to trade either.
Mm.
So do you think it's that we don't, I'm curious about the topic of, are we even on the right topic? Should we teach our children to trade, or like is it just kind of a status of everyone?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
I think we ought to teach everyone, because most people don't think trade, or they, contact. Well, the brokers aren't particularly good. I mean, they're not making the money our people that you guys are making, and they're just, it's just like a mutual fund. You mutual fund contacts you, hey, I'm such and such mutual fund, and, give us your money and we're going to give you this minuscule amount of money back in 45 years. Most times they can't even do it. Where what's exciting is, and it should be exciting, because you couldn't do this back when I was your age. It was impossible, because you had to go to a broker. You had to stand outside the broker's office. Most times you couldn't even go in at 18, certainly not at 15 or 14 or something like that. So there was no access. You couldn't do it. But now you can, because you can do it online. Online didn't exist. You had no ability when you were that age many years ago. And that's why, it's gone so slow, because back then you couldn't do anything. I mean, you couldn't find anything on the internet, and it didn't exist. You couldn't find stock quotes. You had to call a broker, and he was smoking a cigar, and some big office you go in there and stand with all these other people smoking cigars. And that's how it was. That's really, I have this picture of my daughter's son in front of a Merrill Lynch office when I knew she was maybe 13, 14, in downtown Dallas. That's how it was. So there was no incentive for you to do anything as the young person or as the parent to teach the young person. It was just too picking complicated. And they didn't have much access themselves. I remember when my dad got his first Radio Shack computer. He'd been trading forever. And my God, you would have thought he'd died and gone to heaven. He couldn't get anything. You couldn't get any stock information on there or nothing. But that's how primitive it was. But then what's happened is, and rightfully so for the people that close these markets, things have changed. We now have the internet, and we have fantastic information. When I was at Merrill Lynch, you couldn't get options at your desktop. You had to there's only one person in the entire state of Florida. I was in the Florida office. Only one person could even get a quote on options. One person in the whole cotton picking state of Florida could get. So what was the incentive for anybody to do anything, And now you can get all the information you could possibly do better than any broker. Most brokers can't get as good as you can get, and Deshaun, and I can get. It's available now. And because it's available now, parents should, if they're up to date on this stuff, really show an incentive to teach the kids, because the kids can make money and they can do it without risking money. That's the big thing. You can do it with virtual accounts. They can practice our techniques or anybody's techniques. They can practice using virtual accounts until they get good, and then put in $1,000 or $100 and start with real money. But they've had the ability to get good at it, And so now they're excited. And besides that, there's so many opportunities on our techniques where you don't get all involved in having to be some kind of Harvard financial person or something, be able to analyze companies and see if this is going to be a good company or a bad company. We don't even deal with that. We just do a trading volume. And other techniques are also along the same lines, so you don't have to be some kind of, well, like you were when you were much younger. You were saying kind of a pretty looking guy, with trying to trade. Mm-hmm. See, he didn't get any response out of it because he knew it was true. But I said, Jack, you were sort of a fruity looking little guy trying to trade. When I knew you were 15.
That's fair. Well,
yeah. But now you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just so convenient now, and they can actually try it out with real numbers without having to go somewhere else. Just in their own bedroom, they can try it out, and then when they're good, then they can spend 1 day or 2 years, 10 years practicing virtual without risking a penny. And if they never get good at it, then they shouldn't mess with it in the first place. But they do get good at it because they're computer literate. We weren't computer literate back in those days. I wasn't computer. When I went to work at Merrill Lynch, none of us were computer literate. I mean, there was basically nothing that we could do on computers on our own because they didn't exist. I won my first computer. I won it, and my wife was in Europe. I remember I called her and said, "We won a computer." And she says, "They're just tricking you. They're just tricking you to win a computer." It was that computer probably had 10, something of memory or whatever, But, that's how I got started doing this online stuff. And that's where compound stock earnings and micromoment all came from. Was that
and I think that's an interesting core to all this is that we talk about this in terms of like children, right? But if you think about, I mean, what year-ish was this when you could only have one person in the city looking at options?
This would have been about 19 probably 1970, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
1970, yeah.
So like an interesting thing is we're talking about how to teach our children, but it hasn't like this. It's all brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something you're saying because there haven't really even been that many kids since, options were a thing, and the market itself, because of the internet, is completely different. I think, I just want to give a little bit of allowance for people that don't know about the market and like we don't really accept how new our market is that we see. Like, as you know, it's a completely different thing than you used to trade.
This would be more 1980 because I got out of the Air Force in 72, and that's when I went to Merrill Lynch a couple of years later. So that would have been probably early 70s. It's when all this stuff, the internet, and started for people to do it.
So I would say for now, part of the reason that you should teach your children to trade because the market is a different beast than it ever has been.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, would it have been worth it to teach?
No.
Teach about money.
It was difficult. They couldn't associate with the people you had to associate with. It just wasn't there. These were old guys sitting around smoking cigars, literally in these brokerage offices in some building in downtown Dallas or downtown New York City or somewhere like that. And there wasn't a kid walking in there 15, 16 years old. I mean, who the hell's going to even talk to him, And now they know what the hell they're doing computer-wise. And so it's now just mastering a simple technique like ours, for instance, or somebody else's, not just ours. So they got something they can do specifically, and they can do it on their own, and they can sit there and practice for free. No possibility of a loss until they get it right. And we have people. Deshaun knows we have people. We had gentlemen on our morning session one day last week or this week, maybe it was. He had his son on there. His son, teenager. His son got on and said, I just wanted to report. I'm a young guy. I'm doing this, just getting started here. My dad's sort of been teaching me your technique. I attend these sessions. I made more today in 15 or 16 seconds on one trade than I make at my summer job or whatever part-time job he has as a student.
Yeah, I think he works at like UPS or something.
No, it was the other one.
20 and works at UPS or something like
that. UPS. He said they made it in a week based on the salary that he was getting because he was just a kid,
Well, he said he made more than he's going to make tonight at work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he passed himself up.
Yeah, wow. But in 15 or 16, 20 seconds, he did that. And so that's the advantage because these kids are smart, and a lot of people don't give me credit for that. But if they just have the opportunity, if they just have, and they can all get a computer somewhere, high school or something, get one somewhere, and the stuff is simple anymore,
Yeah, I'll take a little tangent here. Ken says, you're enjoying the global warming, Deshaun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Also, Darius says, awesome seminar on yesterday, very informative. Yes. So yesterday you had the trading live with Deshaun. How did that go?
Oh, it was super groovy, man. Just good information. I thought, well, obviously I'm biased because I did it, but I thought well.
I saw the question box and everybody was ranting and raving. I think everyone enjoyed it thoroughly too. So that's awesome.
It was good. It was just good information. I took a trip to Vegas and that really helped get help shift my kind of thinking into trading too. So that was cool.
Oh, and you did it there?
Huh?
You did the workshop while you were there?
No. I got back.
Oh, okay.
Deshaun and you are both prime examples of what we're talking about. Deshaun wasn't necessarily a teenager, but he was in his early 20s.
I'm a teenager.
And he got into this, and he was a bartender. He says he's my bartender. I don't have a bartender. He says that to make it sound like I'm some kind of alcoholic or something like that. But he was my bartender at this restaurant, and we just casually got to talking, and he got interested, and he started doing the stuff because it was available. And pretty soon he's where he is today. Makes very seldom has a trade so successful, and so he's a good example. You're a good example, starting off at that early age. And I really tried to avoid you for the longest, but you kept coming back, and now you're with us. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Deshaun is a. I'm not going to call you brand new because I think you've done the work to earn your dad status. How's that been? I guess we haven't really chatted about that since it was all happening. How are they doing?
You talking about my son?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's super good. He turned 1 this last month.
That's awesome.
Walking and stuff now. So, and I'm thinking about, since we're talking about teaching young people to trade, it's like obviously I can't predict what it's going to be like in like 10, 20 years, but something like this, I'm going to be teaching him how to do that like young, because I wish I had learned sooner is what I'm trying to say. Like
Gotcha.
how to turn my money into more money.
Yeah. Mary says webinar with Sean was great, very informative, a great mind shifter. Yeah.
Now, we're coming at this from a very positive side for sure. Is there any warnings you would give to either parents or young people? I mean, anything that's a little bit different for them that they should watch out for coming into this so young?
Yes, find a proper mentor. Don't just try to figure it out. It's people that have figured it out. It doesn't have to be us. So find someone that's doing what you want to do and doing it good, and get them to teach you. That's what I would say.
Before, until recently, you had to use real money, and people would lose money. They get discouraged. The parents say, "Kid, you lose money." Now they don't have to do that. Now just make sure that they're taking the proper tools that are offered out there, where they can do free trading. But it's real trading. It's just like the real thing. And then when they're ready, and they can't make any huge amounts of money at very young ages. Just like we have clients, that make those monies every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. If I could give it one as well the accounts, the virtual accounts that he's talking about are completely free, but they do require 18.
No, I said they require $200 or $300 deposit into account, but they don't use that money. And that money's not risk. It just shows that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Does the account have to be? Do they have to paper trade on? Can they form an account under 18 though? I didn't think you could even approve one.
I think you can, and the reason I say that is because my daughter did, and so I think you can. But I haven't had. It's been years and years since I've had experience trying to do that. So I know one way either you have to approve it, like Deshaun would have to approve it. You'd have to approve it for your kid, but I think you can do it less than 18.
Well, how did you do it, Micah?
And that's what I'm trying to think. I did paper trade, but I don't actually remember if Mikkel made a paper trading account for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Bad sign, Mike. I mean, I can't remember, but hell, I'm 77 years old.
Oh yeah. So what I was gonna say is, when you get that account, it will start off with $100,000 or $1 million usually. Yeah. I would highly recommend bringing those numbers down to a realistic starting point for the kid. Because one mistake I made was in my first 3 months on paper, I made like 324 grand or something. I was 17. I had no concept of that. And I remember when I went live, it was a very hard transition because I was used to just like, I'll put 40 grand on this, right? I did really well and I made good trades, but there was no sense of realistic numbers, and kids like to think big. So if anything, I would recommend slowing down those numbers first so that it's more realistic, giving them.
But look how easy that would be, because it's not costing you anything, and you just tell the kid, do not invest more than $1,000 a trade,
Yeah.
or whatever.
That's the part I wasn't doing. Exactly.
Yeah. Because the example I give, these guys, like today in the session this morning, they made 18.6864%. Huge. If you just make 6%, I give the example all the time. I know everybody's getting tired of it. If you just put $2,000, let's say in that virtual account, you just take $2,000 and you make 6%, following these guys once a week, 6% once a week, not 18% for the day, but 6% once a week. In 24 months, your $2,000 virtual money is going to turn into $850,000. Now, if you put it at that point, you really know what you're doing, and 6% of 800,000 is 48,000. So if you take a week, so if you take 1 week, you take that as an allowance, $48,000. But the other just keep compounding. Pretty soon it grows into millions. But you can do that, and you can do it without going and breaking the bank or your parents having to mortgage a house or give you money. You can do it, and then when you're just like driving, they don't take you out and put you on the interstate and say drive. If you get to Houston or somewhere, first time you've ever driven, pretty soon you can do that. So
absolutely. Yeah, and I think if you teach that adaptation with it and show them that, hey, this is how we trade right now, but the market does change, which I like how you said that, Deshaun. I like your disclaimer, like you acknowledge that it will be completely different also, and you'll teach them that version. I think that's cool too, because I think if there is a fear, it's probably of outdated information continuing, right? Because we have to adapt so frequently. I mean, that's if anything, that's what trading is the ability to adapt, and that's determines your success over the long term. Marion acts like kids. Yeah, I know. I just have a terrible memory, so I act like an old man frequently because I'm like, oh, what was the name of that? That's very true. Absolutely.
By the way, if anybody has any questions or comments, go ahead and type up here, and we'll see.
Yeah,
yeah. But it's just so much opportunity now not to do it, because here are these kids, and look at the reality for them today. They say, well, get down to high school. Now I got to, and look at the expense of college. The parents say, oh my God, the expense of college, all kind of stuff. And just give them a summer off. They graduate senior XYZ high school. Say, son, I want you to take 3 months off. They just take the summer before school starts and see if you can't become proficient at that using, virtual account, which is the same thing as the real money, and see if you can do this. And then you'll probably make more. You're going to have the ability to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just using this simple micro moment technique or some other that you have confidence in, And what's wrong with that? Why can't they take a summer off?
There's an idea about taking the summer off. Instead of taking the summer off, do like a self-propelled course, a summer course, and just take one class, trading. Just act like you're taking a class and just work on trading. At the end of like that 3 months, they'll probably be pretty good at it and realize like, oh crap, why would I go?
We may give this some more thought, and we may come up with one during the summertime, be a special course. And,
that'd be cool.
Like dirt cheap or maybe even nothing. Who knows? We used to give away a long time ago, back when you could have meetings, and we had these seminars every month, Chicago, Dallas, everywhere, LA, and we'd always give away $5,000. If you brought a kid that was at least 10 years old, and you brought him to the seminar, and he sat there for the 2 days during the seminar, then we would have a drawing of all those kids, 10 years old, and the winner would get $5,000 put in an investment account. We did that for a couple of years.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so we could maybe we could come up with something, the special program just for kids graduating high school this year, and this course would last for 3 months and whatever.
Yeah,
and they see it because they're computer literate. It's like I could never have been a car mechanic. A lot of times when I was in high school, kids were car mechanics. They were really good at it, Probably some of them came out and star mechanics, but I could never do that. But boy, if I knew anything about computers, and I didn't know anything about computers when I was at Merrill Lynch. Nobody else at Merrill Lynch did either. So, yeah.
From my perspective, the main thing for me is to teach that money doesn't work the way that the world around you kind of wants you to think it works. I think regardless of say you're a real estate guru and you teach your children about the real estate market. In essence, that kind of has the same effect as teaching them about trading, because you realize that this thing we call money that floats around and has so much control over us isn't the way that it looks like it is in America on TV. All this, there's all these images around it. I think it's so cool for children to realize it is all just a game. Money's just a game.
To show you how much of a game it is, and I'll repeat this again. I've repeated a couple of times. And always embarrasses Michael. I mean, Micah is on that cruise, right? He won second place to karaoke contest.
This is true. Discovered I got pipes in trading. Fantastic. We got one from Marion. Y'all should develop a 3-month course for kids. Yeah, we were thinking of a youth program. We're trying to figure out how to police it correctly.
Yeah. And young adults in college, yeah.
Yeah, college.
Because it's just amazing. And I just go crazy about this. It's so easy to do, and it's so cheap to do because you don't risk anything. Use virtual accounts, but that's a real account. In a flash, they can say, "Oh, I'm going to start trading real money. Put real money in there and trade real money."
Yeah.
It takes months and months to do. So, my daughter has been doing this longer, but she came to me about 3 or 4 months ago, just out of the blue. Out of the blue. In fact, I'd fired her a couple of days before for just being a daughter. And she came and she said, "I'm just calling you." I said, "Well, what you calling me for? I thought you were mad at me." She said, "Well, I'm still mad at you about that. But just fired me for being a daughter. However," she said, I really appreciate you teaching me something I can do and I'm so successful at. I really thank you so much for teaching me how to trade like this." And I thought that was real nice.
That's awesome.
I didn't hire back, but
Yeah. But in that case for you, if it is successful and they do well with it and that's something that they enjoy, then I mean, they know how to do it. It adapts, of course, over the years, but she's set because it's a moving forward skill.
Never changes.
Mm-hmm.
And people can be laid off, they can be fired, they can be unfired. All kinds of things can happen in life, which happens, and that's why you can't depend on things like mutual funds that you can make all this money because you die, or you come down with something, get divorced, kill somebody, whatever. By accident, of course.
Hopefully you don't kill the person, because then you got bigger issues to worry about than money.
Yeah. My whole point is things change.
Yes.
And so much of the education that these young folks get now is ads from mutual funds companies. Well, put your money with us at a young age. You're going to have what do you got? 45 years, and in 40 to 45 years, the money you got based on what they earn is maybe going to buy you an extremely cheap car.
Yep.
What an extremely cheap car costs 45 years from now. It's all you're going to have enough to do.
So on Facebook, like a little thing I've been seeing, I think it's Motley Fool maybe. But it said, "Hey, if you had invested in Amazon back when we gave you an alert 30 years ago, you would have this much money," or whatever.
Yeah.
That works with everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a guaranteed win.
Yeah.
What about all the other stuff?
If you invest in micro moment, you're not investing in the stock, you invest in an index, and you only want to just move up and down. You don't care if it goes up or goes down. You can make it either way.
Yeah. I can tell you guys we have a lot less followers because we don't do that.
We don't do what?
We do suffer for not saying, "Oh, if you would have bought this and done this absolutely perfectly, you would have made $22,000.
Yeah, they love that. They love that. Robin Hood, Yeah.
Yeah. People don't like it when you tell them, no, you got to learn. And it takes a little bit, but it's, worth it in the long run. That's not as nearly exciting of a narrative, but.
I think the real reason you should teach those teenagers how to do this is because they can control their financial destiny from a very young age.
Because of that same long-term factor, absolutely. Yeah. Because if we all look at it, we all know as much as we want to avoid it, success isn't overnight. It takes a long time to build those things. And I mean, we haven't even talked about compounding, which we know the effects of, we've all seen, what can I retire with when I'm from young to old and all these things. If you start them then and put systems in place that starts that process so many years earlier, because at the end of it is when that compounding really takes effect.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking about that 2-year period of trading. $2,000 is 6% a week, not 18% a week, but 6% a week. In 24 months, you've got $850,000. They can go do anything with that.
We have a good question. Is the 2-week free trial for Micro Moment still being offered? Yes, it is up for a little bit longer. Okay. For anyone that doesn't know, Micro Moment is our shortest term trading. People would rather mess around with digital currency. That's a whole nother podcast topic. Mm-hmm. I guess we could briefly though. In my opinion, that's something that was messing around before, but now it's becoming a little bit. It's here to stay. Let's say. Yeah. So I would say it's becoming a market, but
why would you mess with that when you can do what we're doing with the Micro Moment stuff for trades 15, 16 seconds long, and you're getting into it for virtually nothing. You're buying Apple for $1.50, and you're out of 16 seconds.
I would say the answer to that would be because you don't know what you don't know. Like, for instance, maybe on the digital side, there's something similar to this. I mean, I don't know. I've never looked into it really, but it might be something good over there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd have to agree. I don't know. There's some interesting things happening, I think.
Yeah, that's what Kim says. Kim says, on average, how long to learn and start making money using Micro Moment methods? Shortest, longest ability to learn. I would say, Kim, that the shortest time is probably a day. And if you're still doing it after 3 or 4 weeks, you need to be doing something else. It's just so easy because we're not speculating. We don't speculate, trying to guess if a stock is going to go up in value or down in value. That's what speculators do, and that's, they all lose 80% of their money.
Yeah, and I kind of would agree. I would say a week more legit, like from the beginner. So from a beginner standpoint, or depending on how much you're going to learn, because you got to learn how to buy and sell. I'm assuming you know nothing about the market, nothing about brokerages. That probably take you like 2-3 weeks, maybe up to a month, just because you got to learn that side of it. Learning our techniques, how to read our charts. I told everybody, dude, it's pretty quick. After 2 weeks of like looking at them, you should know every pattern.
Yeah, everything is one chart.
Yeah,
they use one chart. Deshaun uses it, and Tim uses it, and everybody that does our stuff uses it. And when you're doing that seminar, they're showing you exactly precisely when you buy or sell based on that chart. And you're looking at it, and it's real stuff.
Yeah.
And you say, well, yeah, I see this formation, I need to be buying or I need to be selling or whatever. It's based on that one thing, that chart, where that chart tells you what to do.
Yeah, but Kim, I would say, like, our charts and buying is easy, selling is easy. Our charts are easy. The hard part is you. It's gonna be you, like your mentality, like fixing your thinking, believing that you can pretty much do it. People trade 1 or 2 ways. They trade like a player or they trade like the house. So the longer it takes you to trade like the house, that's how long it's going to take you to be profitable. If you keep trading like a player, guessing, and when I say player versus the house, I'm talking like casinos, like gambling money. So there's a player version and a house version. You got to be able to switch your thinking from player to house. And so that's on you.
That's the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It really is. Yep.
I love this, Marion. Joseph's daughter rocks the market. She's boss baby.
Yeah, she does very well.
I think Mary says, yeah. So, yeah.
And hey, by the way, there's a good book everyone can read about this. It's called Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. It's a real good book. Kind of like if you haven't traded before, like read that book. It's gonna be hard to read the first couple chapters. It's very dull, but once you can get past that part, it can really help propel you to the next level.
That's awesome. What was the name on that again?
Yeah, we got
Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
We have 2 books out there. One, Covered Calls and Leaps of Wealth option, which takes you from the start of covered calls all the way through the options. And then the charting book that I never can remember the name of. What's our charting book? What's it called?
Probability for
high probability trading.
Advanced charting for high probability trade.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Well, we're talking on it. We do have a TSS workshop coming up. Let me get the code for you. TSS 20, Marcus. So TSS is a we won't go fully into it, but it is a technique within covered calls, or you can do it loan standing for covered call positions. It's a management technique, and there's a lot to it. We're going to go over covered calls as well. I guess if you want to briefly go over, because you'll be teaching it with Randy, right, Joe?
Yes, I will. Yep.
Okay, so if you want to briefly cover what you guys.
You're talking about our 2-day?
No, the TSS workshop.
Well, the TSS workshop, yeah.
Or is that just Randy?
I think that's just Randy, and Randy and I and Tim do the 2-day.
2-day cover.
I think it's next month or something.
Which is also coming up. Yeah, that's in a week. Yeah. So yes, we have the TSS workshop coming up, and then we have a covered call 2-day as well next week. So that should be good. TSS that's an inaugural workshop, right? That's a new.
Yeah. That's called tethered slingshot, and the purpose of that technique is when you're managing when you do a covered call, you buy stock, sell a call, you don't necessarily want to get out of it. Sometimes you just want to continue to manage and just keep making money every month or several times a month, just cash income, but you don't want to get out of the position. Then you use the TSS, and the TSS is tethered slingshot, which means we're going to take that position, we're going to throw it so far out into the future that no matter what you do, nobody can mess with it. In other words, you can't make a mistake and get called out and have a loss. That's what I'm saying. And so you just keep it out there. You can keep it out there for 5 minutes. You can keep it out there for 5 years. And that's what the technique means. Tremendous technique. It gives you the management ability of covered calls that you otherwise wouldn't have, because you take them out of the sphere of being something happening, somebody doing something and getting your stock for a loss or something like that.
Perfect. Thank you. So TSS 20 will get you 20% off of that. That workshop is what date? What's the date? It's February 16th. Yeah,
16th. Like, yeah.
So there's only a few more days. I think they cut it off a day and a half before or something. They cut off. I say or something because it's
so this
on the 14th. Yeah.
So this is the 11th. So what, Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, they shut it down a couple days early for so that we can make sure everyone's in and has their logins that they need for the event. So.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here and chatting about this. I think it's a really relevant topic. I think it's awesome that independent traders can come together and talk about something like this and all the stuff that we wish we would have known a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and you know what is, Michael, just real quick, I know you run out of time.
Of course, no.
We're not trying to talk about anybody speculation or do anything. We just say, here's a technique. It's a simple technique. You got people showing this technique with real money, and just follow it, and you're going to catch on to it, particularly if you're a teenager. I mean, it doesn't take very long. Probably somebody be telling, Deshaun, I can already do it better than you, why are you here, not me, something like that. But it's just so easy and so hugely beneficial to them and their parents. It
is a hard differentiation to make, because it's not trading as you know, when you say trading, people get a picture in their mind, and we don't go in there and look at fundamentals and look at if the float's high enough to short it or something like this or that. It's a process. It's more something like learning how to build a Subway sandwich than learning how to trade a stock. It's a little bit different sometimes, but for the most part,
yeah,
it's rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay.
Any closing comments from you, Deshaun? No, all good. Perfect. Thank you for all the help, Marcus, behind the curtain. He's our wizard.
Yeah, he's always.
Yeah, we had the usernames going across for our social medias. We have a brand new snapshot episode that went out on Monday, I think. Snapshots are just brief little recorded videos that we want to show case lessons or example trades. I think this last one was an example trade. Tim did 2 back-to-back, so really clean trades. An example to kind of see what we do on the micro moment side of things. We didn't really cover Randy's side because he's off today, so we'll get more into that next week when we are covering what is a covered call and how to use it. We use the term a lot, and we realize we've never really dug in and explained exactly what they are, and so that's our topic for next week.
If Tim was here today, he couldn't be because he had an important appointment, but he did at least one trade where we've been sitting here talking, made 6-7% on an Apple trade. But when he's here, he's sort of usually right next to you and Deshaun in the pictures up there. He would do 3-4 trades while we're sitting there talking. People are watching; they can see him. He's not saying, but they see him, and I always force it out of what you just did. So,
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for the comments and the questions.
We'll see everybody later.
Sounds great. Have a great weekend.